Are we on? Yeah. Are we on? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How is everybody this afternoon? Usual checks. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. And Louise?
The Welsh Compliance Management System is designed.
Sorry, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Andrew, I can hear. How about Louise? Can you hear Louise?
Can you hear me?
Hope you can. Good. Yep. Excellent, Mary. Thank you. Jill, excellent, wonderful, loud and clear. Okie dokie. So how is everybody? We are, again, usually just skidding in here. Now, what do you say on Saturday? You're flying here by the skid of your pants.
Yes.
By the skin of your teeth, by the seat of your pants, wasn't it? That's what it was.
Just incorporate them all.
Put them all into one. Good. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Hope you all managed to join us for the live 12-hour on Saturday. Hope that was all right for you and we had a bit of fun. And we raised over the £3,100 for cancer research, which the best thing about it is since then we've had more people donate. Some people have donated directly to Cancer Research UK on their website, because we don't really have a donation link if we're not live streaming. So if you do still want to donate to Cancer Research UK, just click down here. There's a little square icon with a $sign. You can click on there. You can donate. Absolutely love you to. And if you can't do that, or you don't have social media, that sort of thing, you can go to the Cancer Research UK.org website where you can donate direct to them. How about that, Louise? Anything else you want to sort of chat about beforehand? You're just scrolling through some of the chat there.
Yeah, just looking for the first question. There's been a little bit of pre-chat.
Good. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see. Thank you, Burns, everybody. What a marathon on Saturday. You've ordered a rolling mill from Durston today. Liz. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. More money, all going to charity. Thank you very much. Ordered a rolling mill from Durston today using the discount code. Thank you very much, Sue. Do appreciate that. Saturday and Sunday feels like we're all live together. Yeah, it's back here again. My voice is pretty much caught up now. It's not so bad today. We got home after the 12-hour. We had our pizza. We had our takeaway pizza that Louise very kindly ordered whilst we were live. I appreciate that, because we got in within 10 minutes of getting in. The pizza turned up. We had a bottle of Prosecco, and Louise kept saying to me, "Are you all right? You're very quiet." I went, "Yeah. You all right? You're very quiet." Because I think it was deafening, wasn't it? The silence was deafening.
Silence after hearing you talk for 12 hours non-stop. Yeah.
I just sat there. I just sat on the sofa. I'm not quite sure what we watched. The Crown, wasn't it? And we just sat there and we had a pizza and Prosecco, and I didn't say a word. And I apologise for not saying. I apologise for not talking to you and not saying a word. Any more blackcurrant wine incidents? No, thank goodness. I did check this morning when I came down, and they were all still intact. So thank goodness for that. You know how to shut him up. Just make him talk for 12 hours solid, I expect. Yeah. Okay, so the coupon codes for all the suppliers are still going this week. Don't forget autumn 25. Do we still have any of the slides we can bring on from Saturday, Louise? Do we have any of the slides? Discount for Durston, yeah. So there's still sort of these discount codes that are coming up. 50% off at the bench, membership until Saturday. If you want to use that code autumn50 on at the bench for 50% off yearly subscriptions. We've also got one for Durston still. That's still going. That is autumn 25.
Autumn 25.
Yeah, brilliant. That's up there as well. Don't forget, you can still use that until the end of the week. I think this is the last day today for the Gemlight box. I think Rocky said that was going to be up for 3 days. So if you want free shipping for the Gemlight box, that's still at the bench. That's the coupon code. Another coupon code then for Guess Wine, 5% off everything. That's ATB20. And AutoFry ATB5, that is going to be your discount code of AutoFry. And then we've also got, if you want the spinner tool on distance side, enter the code SPIN40 for a 40% discount off that. Ooh, it's just all go still. It's all go. Should we start with the question answer then?
Okay.
Shall we? Should we get things rolling? Yeah. Ooh, on you. Cool. There we go. So it is Monday, the 9th of November. It is time for this week's question and answer. Louise, do we have our first question, please?
Yes. Okay. Susan HP, what size, sprue size and length to model size, what formula do you use, and do you use vents?
If you're talking about things like lost wax casting, I think it's pretty much a 3mm, it's pretty much a standard size sprue going to the master itself, because it usually has to fit into the little cones that go into the aluminium frames. So I think it's 3mm. We use a bit of 3mm brass, excuse me a second. We use a bit of 3mm brass for that. And I don't like to have the sprue too thin. I think a 3mm is just about right for most molds. It is important to get the metal into the master, into the void as fast as possible. Have something too small, then you're going to have problems. If you have to have sprues within the piece, so say for instance you want to cast something like this, which say like this, okay? Which are leaves, okay? So this here is quite thin, but then you have your sprue that is here. Now, obviously, the idea is that you can't have anything too narrow where the metal enters and then something quite big further on, because you have to get the metal to flow from here through this little area into this big area, through this little area into this big area, and something like that doesn't work. So what you would do then, you would perhaps put a little sprue going from here to there. So as the metal comes in, it fills this one, and then it can go straight up into that one without having to go through to thin, to thick, to thin, to thick. So always try and get the sprues going from the thickest where it enters, and then the thinnest further on. And that's the sort of thing that I would do. If you're doing something like cuttlefish casting or delft clay casting, the faster you get the metal into the mold, the better, because it is basically just gravity that's forcing it into it. So obviously the bigger, the thicker, the better. Don't try and have a very, very thin sprue, because the metal isn't really going to travel by gravity. If it's forced through, if it's sucked through by vacuum, you can do that. That would be ideal. There we go. Next question, please, lovely Louise.
Okay. Louise, not me, another Louise, is saying at your Q&A session the other week, you mentioned in passing that extra easy solder is not suitable for hole marking. Yep. Is this the case even when attaching earring posts?
If the earrings have to be hole marked, I still say no, because they test all the areas. They use their little like X-ray gun machine, and they can aim at certain parts of the earring, and if they see there's an area that is lower than the quality of the silver, they could easily refuse to assay it until you remove that bit of solder and have the proper strength, the proper finesse solder. So for me, we sometimes used to use extra easy when it came to doing repairs, but we don't do that now. We've thrown that away, or we've used it, or we put it into the refiner's bag and so forth, but we never use extra easy. I find that you don't need extra easy, and easy solder is going to be the best way and the lowest sort of melting point. If you're doing it and they don't have to be hole marked and they are lower than the legal requirement for hole marking, I suppose yes, you could get away with extra easy. But if it has to be hole marked, I think if you're serious about the strength of these connections, don't use extra easy. Go for something just that little bit stronger, but at least an easy or a medium. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Mike has a rolling mill and wants to create a particular size triangle wire, 0.215 inch by 0.097 inch.
Wow, as in you can't. I don't think you're going to be able to do that, because you can make triangular wire by putting 2 rounds together or 2 D-sections back to back, and then put them through the squares of the rolling mill, and that then will produce 2 triangles, but they are going to be, how can I say, 90 degrees. So they're going to be exact. This here is going to be 90 degrees, and the other triangular wire, that there's going to be 90 degrees. So you cannot get away from that simply by using a rolling mill. You can get draw plates, which are plates with, and you'd have little triangular holes getting smaller, getting smaller, and getting smaller, that you can pull the wire through. If you can get the one of the right size for whatever triangular wire you're using, that would be great. But the chances are, I don't think you're going to be able to do it. So depending on how much you need, you may simply have to file it, I would have thought, which would be a little bit on the wasteful side. But you can't use that because it turns out exactly that. You have to have a look for triangular draw plates. But then you have to draw the wire through and start off with a D-section wire to draw it through the draw plates. But you can't use the rolling mill for that size wire that you're talking about. Okay, flying through them today. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Joy is asking, do you ever use eco silver? Is there anything about it I should be wary of apart from the price? Can I work it the same as sterling silver?
Now, I think eco silver is just a marketing ploy, because eco silver, correct me if I'm wrong, said the man, no. You didn't get that, did you? No, you
I didn't hear what you said.
So
sorry,
correct me if I'm wrong, said the man with the pink shoe. Right,
with
okay.
The what? No!
I can't say.
You can't say things like that.
Sorry. But you were listening, but I just thought, crack
It's
it.
not even, no, it's you said it wrong.
I said, oh, I stand corrected. Anyway, no. I gotta be PC. I think eco silver is just purely a marketing, not a ploy, but just purely done for it's just recycled silver. If you melt silver down and make something from that melted down silver, you can call that eco silver. You can call it recycled. There was an Instagram post a few days ago. I just took a picture and I sent it to Louise and I said, look, we have been doing this for the last 30 years. And suddenly this is very, very popular. And it was simply using recycled gold. And anything that you melt down and you make up is being recycled, and you're effectively helping the world by not polluting it and not having to mine gold and so forth. So I really do think it is a bit of a market employ. It is normal silver. They still have to make it up into 925. It's a standard silver. So whether they simply melt it down and roll it back out into whatever shape it is, and they call it eco, it's going to be exactly the same as what a normal bit of silver would be. It is just, I suppose, ethically refined perhaps, or ethically mined, but ecological market employed, do you think, Louise? What do you think?
No, I think we could all be more ecologically aware, couldn't we?
Absolutely, yeah. We do recycle an awful lot of gold. We buy in, we melt down, we use the gold that we buy in to make and for pieces for repairs. Customers come in, like we did that dragonfly bangle. She wanted that, and we turned that round into something that she could wear. So we haven't thrown it away or sold it and bought something new. So we've recycled that. I think it's always good to be able to show that you can melt something down and make something from it, because you haven't then paid and bought new gold.
Well, a lot of the time you're saving yourself money anyway, aren't you? So it's win-win all round.
Absolutely. But then you can then go around and just say, yeah, it's all eco-friendly and it's ecological, it's all recycled, and you can sort of advertise your bits over that.
But I don't think that's something your customer would necessarily think of.
No, of course not.
They wouldn't think, You know, like years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'm going to make sure that my jewellery is ethically sourced. I probably would consider it for the clothes that I buy, but I wouldn't. It's just not very.
You don't think about it, or not very
really,
aware about it.
Yeah, I just think generally there's not a lot of aware. It's increasing now because of what you just explained, but.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, as a consumer, I don't think it's something I'd necessarily think too much about. And I do try my best to reduce my carbon footprint and be green and all the other things that go with it. So
there may be people out there who are really into it, and some people who just don't give a two hoots, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but then if you are interested, then I think most people are. They'd look at that and they'd think, oh, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's I can behave more responsibly and make a responsible or a green purchase. Then
exactly.
People would, wouldn't they?
Exactly. And obviously, then what you can do if you buy in silver, you could buy it in a little bit cheaper, and you could actually save money by doing it that way as well, right?
Eco silver sells for twice the price of sterling on some sites. Wow.
I just think, why not just melt the silver down yourself? Why not just recycle your old scraps? You know, my little drawer down here has got, you know, these little bits that we've been cutting off, bits of this, bits of that, bits off a lovely bit of sheet that we've cut off. Well, let's just melt that down and say these earrings are eco silver. Why not?
When you say eco, though, what defines eco silver? Because that's recycled silver. Is that the same as eco silver?
Okay, perhaps not eco silver, perhaps recycled silver.
It depends
then,
on what the definition of eco silver is, I suppose.
But is the eco silver based upon what you've just done to that, or how it was mined originally?
See, that's the thing. That's where you need to make a bit of research into it and see what the definition of an eco.
Yeah, you got things like fair trade gold. But is fair trade gold the same as eco?
That's the thing.
It's all up for interpretation.
Repurposed. But then that's good enough for a lot of people, isn't it? Repurposed, recycled.
Yeah.
So
recycling would save on.
We'll find out for next week. We'll do a little bit more.
So more eco, exactly.
Find out what the definition of eco silver is.
Yeah.
My eco silver, I'm going to charge. It's a little extra because it's eco. What makes it eco, Tom?
Yeah.
I'm not being rude. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Just getting if you've got any links or anything like this, please just do get in contact with us and just have a chat with us. We'd love to know, wouldn't we? Can we call things recycled, repurposed, eco, and so forth? Just let us know. It'd be absolutely brilliant if you could. Lion Punch Forge. Any news on the graver? To the handpiece, perhaps? Lion Punch Forge. I think they were going to be sending me something. We don't know. Any news? Right, Louise.
They were.
They were.
I don't know. They didn't get in touch with me. They got in touch with
me. They did get in touch with me. Yeah, they did. Yes, yes. I've slept a few times since then. So they have. So I'm just waiting my parcel. I'll let you know when that arrives. Eco. It may be because of the power source used to melt it. Yeah, it could be, but it's awkward. It's you're getting ordered. Brilliant. Thank you, Lion Punch Forge. What is your name, Lion Punch Forge? Please let me know. I'm glad it's been busy for you. Glad it's been busy. All right, can we have the next question, please, Louise? We can talk about this eco and recycled and repurposed.
It didn't have to be mined to be produced. It was already above ground, therefore less carbon footprint. Does that mean it's recycled then?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be mined again. You just repurposed it, recycled it.
Yeah.
Is that eco? Okay, I tell you what. Contact the company that sells the eco and ask them what's their definition.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see what they come back with.
There is extra work that goes into refining your own metal, so you are able to charge more for it. So it's refined.
Refined ecologically, instead of using.
You refine it yourself, then, do you?
Don't know. But
okay, interesting.
How do you pronounce it? Decker. She came to see me actually, which is quite nice on one of the trade shows. I had a chat with her many years ago.
I'll send you a lion's claw solder tool as well.
Oh,
that's really kind.
That's really nice. Thank you. It's bought at scrap.
Oh, thank you, Romy. I sent you a link from Cookson's Eco Silver. Brilliant.
Thank you. Cookson Gold says it's refined. Know if it's bought at scrap. Eco, fair mind. Okay, we could chat about this for a long time, couldn't we? So it'd be interesting to come back to say what sort of like the definitions of eco, definitions of recycled, definitions of fair trade. Be interesting. Okay then, Louise, maybe have the next question, please.
Lisa is asking, can you please tell me how to pin silver ball on both ends near a stone or glass? Some call it heat rivet. It will be to fasten a bail.
Okay, so you'd have to have a very, very hot torch to do this because you've got to melt that bit of silver before anything else melts or gets up to temperature. Chris, Lion Punch Forge, thank you very much for that. We've got a bail, just like that, and that goes then upon to a ring. Am I drawing this right? Do you know what, my drawing skills, I have to go back and do some. Okay, so this is the bail that goes, oh, that's absolutely true. Awful, Andrew. Let's start again. Me and Tony Hart would never get on, would we? Remember Tony Hart, Louise?
Yes,
Love Tony Hart. He was brilliant with Vision On. Remember when they used to write Vision On and then upside down Vision On, they used to turn on the side, used to be the little bug?
I don't remember.
Okay, so so we got a pin that goes through the bottom of the bail. And if this down here then is glass or a stone, you've got to be so careful. And the idea is you can really get your pin, you can melt your little ball on the end beforehand. That's easy, isn't it? So then you've got your little ball by here. The trick is now trying to get this bit of wire to melt and to roll up into a ball before the heat spreads up here and the heat spreads down there. So what you could do is protect it with, what can you get? Can you get some like fire retardant sheeting, like fabric, something like that you could put over it, and then you could then put your flame sort of here, like that, and the flame then would melt this. Or you can put some thermogel, something like that, or some cool heat all around this area around here to protect all of this. So when you melt it, the ball then will just roll up here. But if you've got one of these little torches, you've got to be so careful. And in fact, I wouldn't even have the flame going that way, because the heat is going towards. I would bring the torch from this direction. So this area is going to be the torch coming in this direction here to try and melt it, because then the heat is going away, okay, as opposed to going onto the bail itself. So heat up the wire from this direction and do it really quick, but I think you're going to have to protect all this area with cool heat, thermogel, that little paste that protects like a thermal barrier, that this would go and it would melt into that sort of position like that. It is tricky, but if you can have a torch like a Smith little torch, something with a bit more oomph, something with a bit of oxygen tank and a propane tank, this would be far easier for you to do. May we have a next question, please, Louise?
Yes, Janet has her late mother's engagement ring. It's too small. Can I stretch it without removing the 3 stones, i.e. using the ring mandrel and nylon hammer?
You can do. Got to take really good care with it. I'd say you could stretch it, now depending where you are in the world. If I say 2 sizes in this country, in the UK, is far less than 2 sizes in the US. So if we were making it and say it's going from an L to an O, L, M, N, O, 3 sizes, you're going to be pushing it. Oh, who's that?
I don't know if it's the council.
Okay, yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. Yeah, your mic's off. Yeah. So you can stretch it. You've got to take good care with the stones. You've got to take care with the shank. If it's nice and thick, what I would do is perhaps get a metal hammer and just tap the shank as you go around it, because the metal is going to stretch it without putting undue stress on the rest of the ring. Because if you have the ring, have the mandrel, and you put the ring over the mandrel, and then you force the ring down, you're putting a lot of stress on the whole of the ring. And especially if you've got your ring comes round, you've got 1, 2, 3, your settings are up here, your shoulders are here, and this down here is going to be nice and thick. This up here is going to be a lot more delicate. So if you try and force it down the mandrel, okay, you try to force it down the mandrel from here down to here, you're effectively forcing it and putting undue stress under the settings, on the shoulders and so forth, and it's likely that the whole ring then is going to be stretched in this area, and it's going to split the settings, and then you're going to be in a heck of a lot of trouble. So if you are going to stretch it, I wouldn't use a nylon hammer, use a metal hammer, all right? And when you're stretching it, okay, so you say this is now on top of the mandrel, I would hammer in this area along here where the shank is going to be solid. So you're effectively stretching and forcing this area down here, but you're not stretching that area. That area is going to stay unstretched, but by hitting it with the hammer, I know you may be putting marks into it, but a nice smooth face, and come along and just do really, really small little taps gently all the way around. You'll be able to see the size as it gets bigger and bigger. If it is a rounded shank, and say the shank is D-section, well then you need to hit it not just in this direction, but then you also need to hit it from this direction and this direction, just to try and get the profile still the same shape. Otherwise, if you keep hitting it on the top, the profile is going to end up something like that, and that'll be no good. But if you can tap it from all directions, tap, 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 all the way around it. So basically when you're tapping it, you're not just tapping it straight, you're going this way, tapping it down, you're tapping it this way, you're tapping it this way, and so forth all the way. Keep doing that, and you're going to find that the shank will keep its section a lot better, and you're going to be stretching that bottom half. If you're in the US, you may be able to take it up a size perhaps if you're lucky, but I wouldn't push it, or I wouldn't go too far in case you happen to ruin the ring, and I wouldn't want you to do that. Okay, Louise has just popped out on a phone call a second. I'm just going to jump onto what we got by here. Yeah, 3-stroke O blades are much smaller than size 3 blades. 3 blades are quite thick. When adding silver dust texture around a bezel, do you add it before or after you've soldered on the bezel? If you solder the bezel before adding the texture, how do you keep the dust off the bezel? If you add it before or after you soldered on the bezel, texture around the bezel, I would, it's a really tricky one. You've got to decide on how good your soldering skills are, because sometimes if you have too much solder, the solder is going to flow into that texture. I think I would perhaps make the strip. I would then put the silver dust on it, perhaps fuse that into the surface. Then you can choose the strip, the bit of strip that you want. Perhaps it's a bit thicker at one end, a bit thinner at the other end of texture. Then you should be able to go along and then start to make your bezel from there. And you've got to be careful you don't use too much solder, otherwise it's going to flood. And if it floods the area, it's going to flood the texture, and then you're back to square one. So if it was me, do it before you actually put the bezel onto the back plate. I've got no access to that computer, I'm not jumping over there. So this is the reason why I'm just picking out the questions as they appear on my screen. So I apologise that we've missed out an awful lot. I'll get Louise to go back over that a little bit later. I'm an amateur and use both torches that you have on your bench at home. How far away from the metal do you hold your micro torch from the silver? I think I hold it too far away. The best way to do this, let me just try something out. I've got I've got a little switcher here that I can do this, and I can turn lights out with this little switcher. All right, now I can quickly show you with this little, here we go. So let me just turn the lights off, and you should be able to see the flame. Can you just see the flame there? Let me just move that and put that. Now, can I do this to stop that little light coming in so you can see? So you can see where the flame is. The best way to describe this, let me do it this way, you should be able to see. Now, if I bring the flame really close, okay, you can just about see that little orange dot. If I move my torch away, you can see how the dot gets smaller and smaller. If I bring the torch in, it gets brighter and brighter. So when that torch is its brightest, okay, so if you just join, I've just turned the overhead lights off. If you come along with a torch, this is still pretty hot, but the best place is, what's happening? Oh, my camera up there is going to be turned off. Your best place is right by there, right at the tip of that cone. You can just about see by there. Don't bring it back here. You have to, okay, my camera's gone off up there. So, okay, so bring it in right to the tip. You can just about see the tip of that light blue cone is on, and you can see how bright that is. bring it further back. It's still pretty hot, but as you can see, it's not as hot. If you go too close, what you'll get is the center. You can just about see now, maybe I have to see the camera. You can just about see a black center. Now then you've gone too close with that, and the center is not as hot as the outer. So you bring it out until you hit that sweet spot, which is just to the tip of that light blue area. There we go. Hope that makes a lot of sense. My camera's turned off up there, so if I need that camera, I got to turn it back on. Okay, yes, Louisa, I've just went ahead a few, and yes, you have to go. Well, I haven't touched your computer, okay, but I've just answered the questions that were coming up as they were coming up live. I haven't gone on to use those questions there. Okay. Yeah, make sense? Yeah, yeah. So do you know where we are? Yeah. Excellent, excellent, cool. Okay. Maybe have a next question, please.
Yeah, Paul has a question about earring wires. Are commercial ones hardened, pins and posts? If not, how do you harden them? I have very little equipment as just starting out.
They don't normally come hardened, although sometimes the action of the suppliers having them shaped will sort of harden them. So what I would be inclined to do is, there's several ways to do it. You can get yourself a, oh, my tools are still in my boxes. You can get yourself a burnisher. Get a simple burnisher, or you could even use perhaps a pair of round nose pliers. And what I'll do, I won't use that because that's going to be rather hot. I'll use this. So pretend this is your earring wire that you've soldered onto a plate. Okay, so you put your earring wire on a metal block like that. Then you get perhaps a pair of pliers and make sure that the ends of the round jaws here are nice and smooth, or get a burnisher and go over and push down nice and hard. Okay, and as you push down nice and hard, you're burnishing the metal. If you push down hard and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as you go back and forth, turn the poster around it and around it and around, it'll help to burnish the metal. That is one way that you can do it. The other way is to, again, this is your earring post. You would get yourself a pair of flat nose pliers. You would put your, oh, didn't put your mic on, sorry. Then you would then grab the ends of your ear wires with your pliers, and then you twist. You'd hold onto the ear wire, or you'd hold onto the earring, and you would twist the wire. Okay, and by doing that, again, you're twisting it, you're putting stress into the post, you slightly work hardening it as well, and that then would help to harden the post. Some people say you can put them into a tumbler, and the tumbling action will harden them. I don't really think it hardens them an awful lot. Or you can just bend them. If you make those little sort of shepherd hook wires, if you just bend them into place and then burnish the outside edge, you should find they will become a little bit harder. But work harden them, yeah, burnish, or you could even tap them. You could get a nice smooth, you could get a nice smooth hammer and just tap the ear wire as well. And the process of doing that work hardens it, so it does make it that little bit harder. I've turned your microphone on now, Louise. Yeah, we're back on. If everyone can hear you, got your mic on as well? Yeah? Yeah. Excellent, cool. Okay. Next question, please. Sorry.
Kathleen is asking, can you draw round tubing through a square draw plate to get square tubing?
You can. The problem I think you may get is that you're going to need something inside the round tubing to keep, not to keep it, but to make it square. So if you simply have, you'd have to have a square wire, that's a square steel wire. You'd have your square wire, and you'd have your tubing going around. Yeah, does that make sense? So there's your tubing. You put the square wire inside the round tubing. Then you would then pull, you try and get this then through your draw plate. You put the tongs on this, so the tongs would grab onto this and also try and grab onto the tubing, but it is important to pull the tubing through with the square. So then as the tubing would be, do you know what, let's just try and draw it a different way. So then as you draw the round tubing through the plate, it'll start to take on that shape. Do you know what I mean? Like this. I got my cushion shape, but the inside still may stay round, but by having the wire on the inside, it'll make the inside the same profile then as the outside. You need to have something on the inside to keep the squareness, otherwise it will try and just stay round, and it may just stretch the wire, but the inside will still be round. I think that's what you mean. I hope you understood that. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Susan HP, his paste solder has dried up. Any way to refurb it?
Lots of people have this problem because it does dry up quite a bit. Some people will use things like lavender oil. Sometimes you scrape it out, mix it with a little bit of lavender oil. That would work, which actually smells nice then when you start to work it. Or you would mix, some people say, with a bit of glycerin. Don't use aluminium square wire inside. You could do, but you've got to get that square wire out, so it can't be too soft. So yeah, glycerin or lavender oil I have heard people use. You don't want to go mixing it with water, because just that won't work. That will just evaporate and then you're back to square one. So it has to be some sort of oil on it, but it mustn't be so bad that it interferes with the flowing properties. If it was me, I would simply discard it. I would put it in my sweeps bag and send it back to the refiners. That's what I would do. Dissolve out with sodium hydroxide. Now you're talking really complicated stuff, Susan. Next question, please, Louise.
Oh, I thought it was Susan's question.
It was, yes.
Oh, okay.
Susan's answering somebody else's question.
Oh, right, okay. I thought she was answering her own question. I got confused. Okay. A couple of people are asking about the raffles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So this is our first day back from Saturday. That's our first day. The shop has been open since the fire break, since the lockdown. We are going to be producing those pieces. So we're going to be doing the bangle, we're going to be doing Louise's design pendant and a few other, the spinner ring and so forth. That's it up by there where it was from Saturday. We're going to be finishing those off, and then we're going to be raffling them. And you'll know about the raffles. I'll mention it in the question and answer, and also we'll put it on the socials, on the Facebook groups, on the Instagram groups as well. We'll let everybody know, but it's not going to be for at least around about another week, I'm afraid. We just need to get around to that and do everything with the shop. And we're just going to be taking life a little bit easy now the next couple of weeks, because we've had it really, really busy. So I promised Louise, easy time, not getting stressed, chill out, isn't it? Yeah, you don't believe me, do you? You really don't believe you. We are going to take it nice and easy. I promise you. Next question, please, Dan.
Okay, right.
Because you have to rest your foot, don't you?
Oh, my foot.
Your foot. So we should have turned that into a good gift, shouldn't we? Because that was really good. Yeah, we released the winners to the certain competitions that we did on Saturday. We did that from the comfort of our summer house with half a bottle of blackcurrant wine, and we did the hammer dance, didn't we?
We attempted.
We attempted very badly, wasn't it?
Could it even be passed off as the hammer dance?
What did somebody say? Somebody said, look like Space Invaders.
It did look more like Space Invaders. It was the world's crappiest hammer dance.
Yeah, and Louise stood on a plug that she'd brought in.
On an upturned plug.
He was nasty.
That's the world conspiring against you, isn't it, when you stand on an upturned plug?
So what was the question? There was no question.
Yeah, there was a question. After annealing silver, when is the best time to do the hammer dance? Okay,
next proper question.
Okay. That was Michael's, it wasn't mine, sorry. Nice one, Michael. Sandra, I need to buy some twist drill bits for my Fordham SR. Yeah. First time buying them, Bush, tungsten, vanadium or high speed. The latter is double the price, but willing to pay if it's better. It
depends. I think what I would do is start off with perhaps Bush, but don't go for the expensive ones, because you really do need to know, and it sounds stupid, you need to know how to drill, because the dependent motor is variable speed. You need to know the right speed to drill at. You need to know what it sounds like. When I start to drill, I always make sure I always put a bit of lubrication on the drill bit. I find that is vitally important. But that sort of burns away or disperses away from where you're drilling. And if you're drilling through, sometimes you're going to hear it go as it goes through. It actually does, Louise.
What does it do?
Go, and that means it's drying up and there's not much lubrication. So if you keep on pushing, the drill's going to snap. So you need to learn how to, you need to know basically how to drill. And then you can actually, if you do happen to snap those drills, you can then polish them and resharpen them yourself by using your sanding discs and so forth, your diamond discs, and you can repolish them. So I would not spend an awful lot of money to start off with. Practice with not the cheap ones, but the normal priced ones first of all. Get to grips with it, understand how to drill, when you need lubrication, what the limitations are, what the thickness metals you can drill with a certain size drill. Once you understand all that, and if you want then to perhaps use better drills that will last longer, then you can then spend the extra money. But I found I've never needed to do that, because even when a drill snaps, you can still sharpen it and reuse it, and you can use it right down to the end, virtually to the shaft. Next, was it the Charleston was awesome? Yep, thank you, Susan. Next question, please.
Yvonne.
My dad did an awesome Charleston. He could. I don't think he could do it now with his knees. He couldn't do it with his knees, and being 98, he couldn't do it. But my father used to do an all. And I got all my dancing skills from my father. You can most probably tell. Next question.
Yvonne has been trying for 2 days to make a basket setting for an 8mm faceted stone. I stumbled upon your 8-year-old video that looks like an easier way. Can you tell me what size wire you would use?
8mm, let's have a look. 8mm, I think I would use 8mm, depends on how many claws. Depends on how many claws you're going to be putting onto it. 8mm, I'd have at least 6 claws to go onto it. I would make them at least 1 millimeter. If you're using silver, you usually have to use slightly thicker wire for silver. It doesn't have the same strength as it does with gold or with platinum. If you use platinum, you can get away with slightly thinner wire. 6 claws, 1 millimeter. Definitely, I would do 1 millimeter at least. If you're unsure, you can always make the basket, the claws a little bit thicker, and then perhaps taper them down towards the stone, or make a feature out of the claws when it comes over. It just takes practice. Try 1 millimeter, try it, see how it goes. If you find it's too big, make them next time a little bit smaller. If they're too thin, make them a bit bigger next time. But practice does make perfect, and you'll get to grips with understanding the size. But at least 6 claws. If you go with 8 claws, you could get away with slightly thinner wire because there's more claws to hold the stone. But usually the lesser amount of claws, the thicker they have to be for the strength. Next question, please.
Okay. Gillian, did Andrew say 3 blades are just about everything?
Yeah, 3-stroke O.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I use 3-stroke O. They're just my go-to blades. I buy them by the gross, and I very, very rarely change blade. It's the fact that when you cut a ring shank, I don't have time to stop, take the blade out, get another blade, put it in to cut a ring shank, and then I need to cut something thinner, and I got to take the blade out, put that to one side to get the other blade in, and so forth. I don't have time for all that. So if I'm constantly cutting thin metal, well then yes, I would swap my blade to something a bit finer, but usually a 3-stroke O, and that's what I would use. Next question.
Where did I see it? Oh, Elizabeth, what do you use when fusing? I've seen it demonstrated using spit. Ew.
Spit with fusing? Fuse, yeah?
Spit, yeah, exactly.
Don't know.
Spit.
Spit. Fusing, spit, I don't know. Perhaps you would use it to hold pieces together, perhaps, if you were thinking of doing it. I know if you're fusing very, very small granulation onto a larger piece, you perhaps would use spit to hold that onto the metal before you fuse it. But I don't think the spit is there to aid fusing. I think the spit would just be there to hold the little granules on the piece.
Probably not in these COVID times either.
But then when you heat it up, the spit
Yeah, I
burns
suppose
away,
that
doesn't
way.
it? So it's not as if you're transmitting live spit or wet.
Okay.
Next question, please,
Enough
Louise.
of this spit chat. Elizabeth, I'd be interested to not see that. I don't want to see someone spit, but yeah, what's the spit? What's the function of the spit?
So you're asking me?
No, because you don't know.
I presume it's just to hold little granules onto it when you're fusing it all together.
Oh, right, okay.
That's what I presume that's all about, yes.
Okay.
You right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul is asking, for a flush setting, what's the minimum thickness for a 3mm stone?
Yeah, spit the dog. Jill, tis was. I don't know. Sorry. 3mm stone. Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3mm. So the stone has proportions, doesn't it? I would say that's 1/3, that there's 2/3. I'm not quite sure why I'm doing this, 'cause I don't know where I'm going with this. So that is the diameter. They're not quite sure what proportion this is to that. It's a very difficult one, because depending if your stone is ideally cut. If it isn't and it's got a fat belly, it's never going to be the same that it is for a shallow cut stone. So again, if you're doing a 3mm stone, when you make the hole for your stone to sit in, we've always said that the table should be level with the surface. But once you get above 2mm or 2.5mm, you don't want to go and do that, because you then will have too much metal to push over onto the stone. So your stone then would have to be slightly above the metal. Okay, so there's your edge of that. So then you've still got this little bit of metal to bring it into place. So what size thickness metal? It depends on the stone. I don't think I can really give you a proper answer to this. I know what you could and what you used to be able to do was that if you had a straight-sided setting burr that was like this, all right, and it's slightly blunt, when you drill through a metal, it'll sort of push the metal and cut a little bit. And if you have a very thin plate and you drilled through, what you may find is that it would push the metal downwards a little bit. I'm not quite sure if I'm being that clear. And it'll push the metal that would give a bit more seat to the stone when it goes on to into the hole itself. So 3mm stone, I was using 1.5mm. Okay, there we are. So I was using 1.5mm sheet, and that was for a 2.5mm stone. Why didn't I think of that? And let me have a quick look. Let's have a look. The stone depends. The stone has come through. That's pretty good. So yeah, okay. So 1.5mm, I think, would be the thickness that you'd need for a 3mm stone. Don't go any thinner. I don't think you're going to have enough metal to be able to support the stone. But I think 2.5mm round, 1.5mm sheet. Perhaps we could sort of do some sort of correlation to what a 1mm sheet would be. So off the top of my head, I'm waffling now, but at least 1.5mm would be the minimum you would need. Bit of a waffle there, Andrew, for a very, very simple question. Next question, please.
Okay, Liz is asking, on the reusing point, who or where is the best place to send your silver to recycle if you aren't able to DIY?
Are you in the UK or are you in the US? Because if you're in the UK, So you're asking somewhere that would be able to recycle your silver. You'd have to have quite a bit of silver to be able to justify the cost. The biggest biggest refiner is Betts Metals. Okay, what they will do, and they're in Spencer Street, Birmingham. Okay, what they will do for you, if you have some gold, they will refine that bit of gold for you into whatever you want. So say you had, say, a 22 carat wedding band, and you want that bit of gold turned into, say, 9 carat for somebody who wants to keep it, but you don't want to do the alloy in yourself and so forth. They will guarantee you that bit of gold that you give them, that will be the same bit of gold that you will have at the end of the process. That is how good they are. Because usually when you send stuff in for refining, sometimes they may mix it all with other stuff and then refine it all and then give you the money or the percentage of the money according to how much you put into it and so forth. But if you want that bit of gold, is the gold you'll have out of it. So if you have a bit of silver that you want to be kept, and you want the metal back, they will guarantee that metal back to you. Or if you're just simply selling it and you just want the money for it, again, Betts Metals, I think, going to be the best place if you're in the UK to send it to. I know Cookson do it, but Cookson do charge an awful lot of money for doing all this these days. People aren't that impressed, and it depends on whether you've got a VAT registration number or whether you're just a hobbyist or so forth. There's all different prices. But if you go to Betts Metal Sales and say, Andrew Berry recommended me to you, see what they say, but they're going to be one of the best. They're one of the country's top refiners in the UK. What happened to Sutton Tools? Okay, Sutton Tools were bought out by Betts Metals. Betts Metals wanted to get into tools. Maggie and Jeff were selling Sutton Tools, so Betts Metals bought Sutton Tools, and I think they incorporated Sutton Tools into Betts Metals. The showroom is still there. I don't think it's called Sutton Tools now, it's called Betts Metal Sales. So that's what happened to Sutton Tools. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Creations of RJ. What about melting down my silver shavings? I've had people swear you have to send it to be refined. Those same people said you were lucky to get 50% of the silver's value.
Okay, so again, you do have to make sure that you have enough silver to warrant the return, because he sends off pieces of silver. You will get more money back on pieces of silver than if you would do upon shavings or lemel and so forth. Some people say don't bother with lemel, send it away. But if you do that, you've got to send like a kilo at a time. And who's got a kilo of filings? It's going to take you years and years and years. So what a lot of people do will say they will keep all the filings and all the lemel separate. So they're going to start some gold work. They will put something in their tray down here to catch all the gold. They'll use silver, they'll file silver. They will put something in their tray just to catch the silver, and they will separate it all up, which is really what you should do. Then what you do need to do is to get, is it called an earth magnet, to go over all the lemel, all the shavings, all the filings, to get rid of any little bits of metal that may have come off the files. It may come off the saw blades, just to get all the steel out of it. And then usually from that you can wrap that up in some paper, and then you can melt that down. I wouldn't trust it totally. I would always add a little bit of fine silver to that just to raise the quality a little bit, but definitely you can do that. You then would get obviously a far better return by doing that rather than having to send it away to get it refined. But be careful, because there may be some impurities in it. And I don't know what those would be, depending on what you got on your bench. If you have some lead, and lead will go into it, you've actually ruined the silver. So you've got to be really, really careful. Really, your sense of housekeeping when it comes to keeping your lemel clean is imperative. Obviously, you can't help bits of wax and so forth from the blade when you lubricate it going into it, but that doesn't matter because that will burn off. But it is important to pass over a very strong magnet, and you'll be surprised what actually comes out of that silver simply by buffing it or filing it with your metal files. And yes, you can do that. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Shirley is asking, what is the best way to remove cabochons I want to save from silver jewellery?
Say that, so you melting, so getting some, okay, so the best way to do that would be to try and cut through the bezel if you can, and then just to try and ease the bezel open to get out the cabochon. I assume that you're going to be throwing the silver into your melting pot, so the silver itself, you've got no regard, but it's the cabochons or the stones in it. So yeah, you can do that. It's a good little thing to practice, actually, to try and practice pulling out the bezels on scrap bits of jewellery. So when the time comes and someone asks you, can you take the stone out of here, or so forth, you know then how to do it. And you can do that with various methods, like a prong puller backer, that's what I call it, or a scalpel, something like that. But if you can cut through, if you have your bezel, so you have your cabochon here and the bezel is coming over, I would saw through the bezel as far as you can go without damaging the stone. And then if you can ease the bezel back, it'll split where you've sawn it, because that's the weakest part. And then you should be able to pull it open then and get the cabochon out. Maybe have a next question, please.
Should we mention, as we're talking about melting down silver and repurposing, recycling, about hollow pieces of silver?
Yes.
It's an important safety consideration, isn't it?
It is, yes. And because you know about Colin, don't you, with his eye? Yeah. So one thing that, you must make sure, as Louise just mentioned now, if you are melting down silver, make sure there are no hollow items. Say you're melting down someone's charm bracelet, silver charms, there's going to be hollow charms within it. So say you're melting down a whole pile of silver and there's some little ball earrings, some hollow studs, something like that. Always make sure you pierce that first. Make sure that there's holes, or you smash it, or you get a pair of cutters or shears and you cut the hollow items, not necessarily in half, but as long as you make a snip in them. So when you heat, it lets the air out quick. The problem that we had was that when a good friend of mine, Colin, he started with this when he was 17. He thought he knew it all, as kids do when they're 17 years old. And he said, no, I've seen you melt down, I'll melt down. I mean, look, wait a minute, I'm just seeing to a customer, wait, no, I can do that. And he's melting it down. He didn't see the little hollow ball stud that was in the bottom of the melting pot. The air expanded so quick, the air couldn't ease itself out, so it literally exploded the hollow ball stud, which was at the bottom of the melt. It threw molten gold everywhere. A little bit went in his eye, didn't have his eye protection on because I wasn't there overseeing him, and he was off work for a little while with a damage to his eye.
Which he's damn lucky, because he's lucky he still had his sight.
Yes, exactly.
Or the skin on his face when you think about it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. So you've really got to take good care, but make sure, otherwise, because the heat heats up the flame heats up the air, and the air expands. And if there is no way for that air to come out easily, it'll explode. It'll explode. And yeah, it has been happened quite a few times. Even to me, things have exploded in the crucible when we've been trying to rush, and it is no good. But also always wear safety glasses.
Yeah, a visor actually, because we've all got our visors now, and I know they're only plastic, but it will shield your face.
Yeah,
if you're melting down, if you are a little bit nervous. Which we all should be a bit wary, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
anyway.
You should be wary.
Yeah.
Because you've only got one set of eyes.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
So the little clear visors that we all wear now,
I know it's
due
not
to
still going
COVID.
to burn through, but at least you've got a fighting chance of
absolutely.
protecting your face.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, next question, please, Louise.
Okay.
But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
It's okay. See, I'm learning too. You can't do any of it. But
yes, you can. You will be. Don't worry.
Let's see. Sorry, there's a little bit on carbon footprints here. We were talking about recycling. Okay. Kristen has received a few cabochons that are practically paper thin. How can I set it in a bezel?
You don't necessarily have to even set it within a bezel. You could have a bezel made really thin. You could, let's just have a think. Say you have your back plate and your your cabochon is really, really thin like that, what you could do is perhaps, and I'm just trying to think on the spot here, if you had a bezel that was even a little bit higher than what it actually needs to be, you can get a little punch and just punch, not on all the way around, don't try and bezel set it, but just do a tap, tap, tap. We did the, do I have my tooth? I don't have my tooth here, do I? The druzy, I did it to the druzy because the bezel for the druzy was a little bit high, so I just tapped down in little places. I did it with the morning jewellery, the tooth ring. Again, I didn't want to bezel set those all the way around, but I just tapped the edge of the bezel all the way, and that just helps hold it into place. You don't even really have to even use a bezel if you didn't want to. You could always get a graver, and as we were doing on the live demonstration on the flush setting, you could get a graver that would come in, okay, so that's the graver, at this angle to raise a small little grain and then bead that over to hold the stone in place in various places. So that's another way that you can do it. But a very, very thin bezel you can, but don't worry about it. You can always just tap the edge. But you do have to be very careful because, again, if you are burnishing these bezels, you're going to have to be very careful because this stone is so thin, you can't put an awful lot of pressure. But just tap in, as I said, if you have like an oval stone and the bezel's going round, I would just do a little bit of a tap here, and that would just make a little bit of a tap down here, tap by here. That would just dent the bezel a little bit, dent the bezel, you know, just basically, do you understand? Tap here, and it will deform the metal in the places like that. So that's all then you would need to hold the bezel in place, the stone in place, as opposed to all the way around. Okay, do we have 5 o'clock? Do we have our last question, please, Louise? We're going to not overstay our mark. That makes sense. Did it overstay your mark?
Overstay your welcome?
Overstay your welcome. That's the one. Yeah.
Overstep your mark.
Overstep your mark. See, we're mixing metaphors. Are they called metaphors? Sorry. Next question. Next question.
Best way to solder flat bezel to curved ring shank is the only way to file the bezel to fit the curve. Yeah, that is going to be the only way to do it because you can't put it on when it's straight, because when you bend the bezel, bend the ring, the bezel will be bent. So that is the best way, is to use a file. Something like a half round ring file would be ideal, or you can get these sanding drums like these here. These little sanding drums would be brilliant as well. You can use those, and that is going to be the best way. Or, there is one other way. This is the last question, guys, okay? I've got one I'd like to.
Have you? Oh, okay, no problem. so
it's just I saw something on it. I saw it, but I think might be a solution. But I want to know whether you think it's a reasonable solution.
Yeah. So here's your best side view. There's the bezel. There's the ring. So what you could do is do that, isn't it? And make that edge to match that edge. Doesn't quite. My filing is terrible. There we go. So this curvature here would match that curvature. That is the main way that you would do it. But the other way of doing it would be to drill a hole through the ring. So you drill a hole through the ring. Yep. Then you drill a hole through the ring. Then you put the bezel all the way through the ring. Like that. And then you file the bottom. That's the board rubber. And then you would then put the whole tube in, the whole bezel, if it's round, through the ring that way, and then you don't have to worry about trying to get this curvature to match the outside, because you just put it all the way through. There we go. Okay, Louise, you have a question.
It's not my question, it's Michael's question.
Okay.
Michael has some cabochons with a rounded bottom.
Yes.
How do you bezel set them? Do I add a jump ring beneath it? Well, I saw, I think this is what it was. A lady had a similar round-bottomed cabochon and put very fine sawdust in the bezel.
Yes.
Would that be?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a well-known sort of like little trick. The Navajo Indians do know the cabochon turquoise.
Does that degrade over time though? Does it?
No, it's just like wooden. It's like it's
Just
coarse. It's
stop-
coarse
stop it
dust.
rocking?
It's coarse dust. It's not very fine dust. So it's not powder. It's quite coarse, like
But it packs
granulated.
down.
It packs down.
Okay.
The idea would be because then the sawdust would be in the bottom. Obviously, it has to be a closed back bezel. Otherwise, sawdust would just
Well,
fall.
of course, yeah.
I'm sorry, a closed back
Could have sworn I put a load of sawdust in my bezel. Is it all gone?
So it would be a closed back bezel, bit of sawdust. The sawdust then takes it onto the shape of the back of the cabochon. Yeah, Louise? Yeah? Yes. Which then stops it from rocking. The also good thing about it is it does have a little bit of give. So when you are burnishing, because the silver has a bit of memory, so when you burnish the silver, it comes down and it'll just come back slightly. But the advantage you've got, if you have that cabochon on some sawdust, if you push down, okay, the silver will come back a little bit, but also because of the sawdust, will actually come up and yes.
It's a semi-transparent cabochon.
Right.
Tricky, Michael, tricky. Oh, I thought I'd answered a question then.
It's a closed back. Okay, the other way to do it then would be to use bezel wire or bearing wire to seat the cabochon on. And then you're just purely resting it on the edge of the cabochon until the bottom isn't touching. And your bearing wire is that shape. And then your cabochon then would sit on that, and you can even have it open backed or have it closed back if you want to by soldering that up onto a back plate, and then that would leave then the bottom free to do what it wants to do. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Or you could use silver foil. So you'd have the bottom of your bezel, you'd have all your granules of sawdust, then you could put some silver foil on the top of that that would reflect the light back up. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you would put your cabochon on top. So you've still got that little bit of give with the sawdust, but when you see through it, you'd see the silver foil. And a lot of Victorian jewellery has silver backed stones, which is like silver foil backed stones to still give them the sparkle.
Could you put a slice of crystal, Julian is saying? I know someone put it over an opal.
Yeah, you could do. Almost like a doublet. But then that crystal then has to be fitted into the right shape of the curvature of the bottom of the stone, perhaps. Don't know. Do you see the support tickets for At the Bench? Yes, we do. Louise doesn't, but I see a few of them. Paul, yes. Is there a problem? Message me various ways if you've got a problem, and we'll certainly have a look for you.
Is it a question relating to At the Bench, a technical question relating to At the Bench, or is it something unrelated to At the Bench? If it's unrelated to At the Bench, you're probably better off dropping us an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I think that should be about it. Enjoy your At the Bench apron. Yeah, so we have... go on.
Tom is saying instead of using sawdust, could you use something more modern, silicone glue that has a cushion instead of sawdust?
You could use something like a glass cement that is slightly giving.
How do you know how much to...
That is the problem, isn't it?
Because with sawdust, you take it out and you put it... But once it's glued, that's your only... Thank you, Romy.
Yes, it is. It's going to be hard. And if it is glue, you're going to be able to see it when you see through. If there's air bubbles in it, perhaps.
Oh yeah, Paul, that would be a ticket. So that would find its way under Andrew's nose. Yeah.
Yes, it's feedback. Okay, we'll certainly have a look.
I'll use eco water instead of sawdust.
Silicon sealants, yeah, anything like that. Will it get over in time? Not quite sure. I don't think sawdust and your ring gets wet. The sawdust will swell and pop the stone out. Yes, it will. Tom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. I had to think twice then. Thank you.
There's a look of joy on your face when you realise you've done it.
Recognise someone's face.
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay, that's the end of our question and answer for today. Right, thank you very much everybody for coming in today and joining us again. As you can hear, my voice is sort of held up pretty good. It's had a lot of work over the last few weeks with these question and answers. So everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. Do you know what, that hour flew by?
Yeah.
We said this last time, didn't we, when we did the
yeah,
12 hour?
exactly the same.
The next hour just, oh my gosh, yeah, flies by. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed Saturday's 12 hour. If you haven't, check back on YouTube and watch that. We'll be going through that, and we'll be putting sort of timestamps. So if you want to know when the flush setting starts, we'll put the timestamps down so you don't have to go fast forwarding all the way through, so you can jump to the section that you want. Anything you want to say, Louise?
No, just raffles are on the way. It was the pendant from Saturday, and also Bill Hawkes' lovely urchin pendant, which he said he will stone set with the coloured stone of the winner's choice.
That should be cool. So just wait for that to come through.
Excited to see that.
And we'll try and organise that perhaps next week sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, give us a chance to recuperate and get some bits and pieces done.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, cool. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be on again next, what are we on? It's the 9th today.
Yeah.
9th. Join us next.
Link for Friday, yes. I will post it. In fact, I think I'll post that now.
What's that for, Louise?
The link for Kate's Makeathon.
Oh, yes, Kate's Makeathon.
Yeah, I hadn't forgotten. I thought about it earlier, yeah. So yeah, we'll
yes.
definitely do that.
Also, what was the book's name that you said about the marketing book? Because I know I seen Jill was on.
End of Marketing. I think it's called The End of Marketing, and it's by Carlos Gill.
Carlos Gill.
Let me just double check.
My mother's maiden name.
Carlos Gill. End of Marketing by Carlos Gill, yeah. And it's fab. It's really insightful.
So The End of Marketing by Carlos Gill. That's the name of the book that Louise recommends. And go on, Louise.
Here's another. We were talking about that, weren't we, the other day? We were talking about social media posts and things you can do, things you can get away with.
Yes.
And I put 2 posts on At the Bench earlier, and this, I hope this doesn't blow up in my face now, like an overheated hollow ball.
Or a Durston website.
yeah. The Durston website, yeah. Yes, I posted just some photos. Mind you, I did tag, this is where it gets interesting. 816 people saw the photos I posted from Saturday.
Yes.
And it was just thank you and tags. I posted another one. I didn't send it to Durston website, but I posted a discount code and I posted 40% off. So bearing in mind, 816 people.
816 saw the first one. There was nothing, not directing people anywhere.
Yeah.
Just
well, the second one wasn't, but it was going by, wasn't it?
Yeah.
260 people.
Wow.
Facebook showed that to 260, and I posted them more or less
at the same time.
Consecutively, yeah. So it does actually. It's very interesting when you get into the metrics.
So
I'm going to stop boring people. That's why I'm going to shut up.
So Facebook wants you to stay on the website.
On the app.
On the app.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook itself. But as soon as you start putting posts on there, directing people away.
Well, I didn't. That's the thing. That's how smart it is.
But then you were by saying.
I didn't say go to durston.co.uk and you can have this brilliant discount. I just said you can have a discount and use the discount. So it's smart enough to know.
Wow.
That.
So did you post the URL to Durston?
No.
Oh, really?
And it was still clever enough to go. Oh, I'm going to hold that back from a few people actually. Cause,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. It is very interesting.
That's
what
clever.
if you linked it to the Instagram account? To the yeah.
But then again, I've noticed that, come to think of it, because I used to post on Instagram and I thought it was just the way I was doing it. I used to post like hints and tips, that sort of thing. And I used to get like 400 or 500 impressions within a day. I've been posting about the 12 hour.
Yeah.
I've been posting links and I've been getting 200.
That's because
And I'm thinking,
because you're supposed to pay the app.
Yeah.
Facebook,
and I'm
Instagram
thinking,
wants you to pay for that. They don't. Why should you have it? You're a business. Why should? That's what they're saying. Even though it's charity, and they know.
Because I just thought about it then. Because you just said that, I'm thinking, hang on. I've been putting a lot of posts out there, wanting people to see about the 12 hour. atb.yt, been putting things like that.
That's taking people off the app.
Yeah, and I've only been getting the fact, like I say, a third, 200 impressions, as opposed to 400, 500, 600 when I used to do my tips.
Yeah, because that was just general.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is.
It's good material because they can paste it, they can copy it, they can share it.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to share posts or anything that takes them off. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't show as many people.
It's clever.
It's terrifyingly clever.
We're going to have to watch that program on Netflix.
Oh, I don't want to.
Why not?
I don't know.
No? Okay. Too scary. But then you may learn something by saying, oh, I didn't know they could do that. Oh, didn't know I could take that. Okay, we're waffling.
She is geeking. I'm always geeking, Susan. Hashtag the charity. No. Ooh, now that would be interesting. I don't think I didn't tag the charity in, and I should have.
Okay, well let's do it then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's good when you start looking into.
Right. The problem is now is that we're going to talk about this all night. Oh, we mustn't, Louise.
We need a geek session. Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Romy. Right.
My wife and I already moved to Somerset or Cornwall. Nice.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah. Social dilemma. Social dilemma. That's what it's called.
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Perhaps we should watch it.
Okay. We're going to go. We're going to go home. We're going to see you all next week, the 16th of November, 4 p.m. Usual thing. Don't forget the codes are still going live. Durston Autumn 25, 25% off at Durston. At the Bench half price memberships. Autumn 50, ATB 5 and ATB 20 at all the various websites as well. Gemlight box at the Bench. I think that ends tonight. That is the free shipping for the Gemlight box. That's about it. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Boris is talking about a vaccine.
Go on, was it?
Boris is talking about a vaccine.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, everyone wants to go.
Oh, everyone. Yeah. Right, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Boris, go and see Boris. Talk about vaccine. We'll see you back here next week. Take care. Have a lovely week. Bye.
Have this one. Okay.
Have that. Have this. Bye.